Witches. Things of old fairy tales and myths from ancient times. But they don't really exist, do they? Now, I've been getting into the Halloween mood lately and thinking about some stories that my mom has been telling me for years now. So the story goes as far back as my great 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 grandmother. The women on my mother's side of the family have all been said to practice dark arts and witchcraft and magic. My great 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 grandmother said that she could actually communicate with the dead in her sleep. A few weeks after my mom's stepfather had died in this terrible semi truck wreck, she said that he had come to her in a dream, unaware that he was dead. He had been wandering around this mist, afraid, aimlessly trying to find his way back home. She guided him through, telling him that he was dead and that his family was going to be okay and that he needed to head on into the light, and waited with him to make sure that he made it through. Up to this point, all of these women on that side of the family had practiced something called white magic. It's a kinder, more gentle, peaceful kind of magic, until my grandmother came along and started practicing black magic, a more evil, scary, angry kind of magic. My grandmother tried casting spells on people, cursing them and wishing harm and even death upon them. She filled her house with candles and magic books and mirrors, all to aid her in her practicings. But she didn't just practice in secret, behind closed doors, no. There was one account that the bus driver, along with a full bus full of kids, saw my grandmother floating across the road in a white dress with a lit candle in her hands. She was crossing that road to an abandoned house across the street. My grandmother would collect samples of hair and pictures of people to burn in this little pot. She then placed these ashes in these little wax voodoo dolls. She would then poke, cut, scratch, and damage these dolls in hopes of causing pain to her targets. After she was done with these things, they had to be buried in her yard. She would tell my mother and her brothers not to even go near that section of the yard after they had been buried. Now, although my mom doesn't practice these magics, she did, however, have a dream quite similar to what my great-great-great-grandmother would have had. My grandmother at the time being very sick and my mom being pregnant with me, she had a dream of her grandmother coming to her and telling her that all was going to be okay. And as quickly as she came, she was gone. Now, it doesn't matter if you believe these or if you believe that any of this really happened. It doesn't even matter if it really happened. One thing for sure is that this had a real effect on her family and the people in her community. When my mom was really young, she was at school, and on the bus, a kid started making fun of her. So my mom, being a young kid, turned to her and said, "My mom's a witch, and I'm going to have her put a curse on you." Now, this could have been marked up to a kid's imagination or an over-exaggeration. Not too big of a deal. However, it got reported to the school told my grandmother, and my grandmother told my mom, "Don't you ever tell anyone ever again what goes on behind these doors." There was another time when my uncle, an 18-year-old man, accidentally broke my grandmother's mirror that she had been using to help her practice her witchcraft. No big deal, right? It's just a mirror. Well, not quite. He broke into tears. His girlfriend actually ran from the house, and he had to perform this burial ritual for the mirror, burning a candle in all four cardinal north, south, east, and west directions, and saying a nursery rhyme that started in the north direction and circling the mirror ending in the north direction. My grandmother said that that would seal the mirror into the ground and told the kids never to dig in that area of the yard. So we still know the people that live in this house today, and since they have moved in, they've had all types of bad luck, whether it's the 2 miscarriages, the multiple fires, the illnesses, the deaths, the hundreds of thousands of dollars that had to go into repairs in this house after things continuously decide to break down. Not to mention that 3 out of the 4 kids that had lived in that house all said that they experienced something completely frightening while living in that house. We might talk more about that during this week. But some of those family members even refused to step foot in that house. Make sure that you guys let me know in the comment. What is your favorite witch of all time? It could be from a book, a TV show, a movie, or maybe even your grandma. Thank you so much for watching. I have been Hippie, and I will see you tomorrow for some more spooky stories.